Manchester United are back in action this week. We've flown out to Spain for a mid-season training camp with the World Cup going on. Erik Ten Hag has taken a squad out for 2 games against Cadiz and Real Betis. What I'm going to do in this video is run through the full squad announcement and all the key and major talking points that we want to get some answers on. What about who's going to be our striker? Martial, McNeil. We'll have conversations about those. What youngsters will Ten Hag be looking at and hoping that they can use this as a platform and opportunity to impress him in the same way that Charlie Savage and Zidane Iqbal did during the first pre-season, during the summer. But you can drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. I love doing these videos. I find them quite interesting. You'll know full well that I covered all the pre-season in some serious depth. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the squad that we've got. And look, we might have to wait until the 27th of December for Manchester United to be back in action in the Premier League. We've got Burnley coming up on the 21st of December in the League Cup. And we've got these 2 games coming up here against Cadiz on Wednesday night and Real Betis on Saturday night. 2 Spanish teams, 2 decent games, I think. I think 2 matches that will test this Manchester United, this young Manchester United team. And you know full well that there's going to be some serious intensity out there in training, just like there was throughout the entire pre-season, just like there has been at Manchester United throughout this entire season. And Ten Hag, I'll tell you what, he's got a smile on his face. I think that's if you're looking at body language experts, which I am not one of, if you look at how Ten Hag sort of opened up when he was on a pre-season tour, he was very stern at the start, but once he started settling in and the players started settling into his coaching style, he seemed to be a happier man. And I tell you what, he's got that smile on his face straight away, having travelled out there. But let's take a look at the actual travelling squad and all the major questions and talking points, because for me, there's quite a few important ones. You can let me know what you think in the comments. But this is the full team here. De Gea, Heaton, Bishop and Dubravka all travelled out. That's all 4 of our goalkeepers. None of them involved in the World Cup. Defenders, there's a bit of experience there. You've got Lindelof, you've got Wan-Bissaka. Then there's quite a lot of youngsters. You've got Williams there. We'll have a conversation about Brandon later on. You've got Mengi, Bernard, Gerardo, Hardley, Bennett, Oyedele, Murray and Fredrickson. In midfield, you've got Van der Beek, McTominay, Savage, Iqbal, Hansen, Gore and Mainu. Kobe Mainu. Forwards, we've got Martial, Elanga, Shoretire, Garnacho, Hugo, McNeil and Emeran. Now, there's a few names on there that you'll know about and a few names that you won't. I'll try and explain in a little bit more detail. But there's one notable absentee, and that's Jadon Sancho, who, of course, isn't part of the World Cup squad with England, and he's not travelling here. He's been left out of the squad by Erik Ten Hag because he's on an individual training plan. I don't know whether that's out in the Netherlands or whether he's just working with coaches from the Netherlands. But Sancho and Ten Hag clearly would have had a conversation privately and said, look, this is what I feel is best for you at this particular moment in time. Take that time away from the spotlight, work on that individual training plan, and let's see what happens when you come back. Sancho's not going to get frozen out by Ten Hag. Ten Hag is just doing what he possibly can, what he thinks is best to get the most out of Jadon Sancho. Because this second half of the season, he's going to have to re-find himself. And maybe just that extra week or 2 just away from the spotlight with no conversations, no eyeballs, no anything will just allow Jadon Sancho to hit that reset button and find his best, because we need him back. We really do. And I'm convinced that he will be found, just in the way that Ten Hag's helped the likes of Delo and Rashford and Shaw and McTominay and lots of other players to improve. I feel that Jadon Sancho at some point it will click. Just don't know when that will be. Now, somebody that we want to stay fit this season now is absolutely Anthony Martial, who's flown out and he's part of this tour. Hopefully he gets game time in both of those games. He came back towards the end, the last couple of games before the pre-season break happened. Not pre-season break, but mid-season break, if you want to call it that, with the World Cup. But we need Anthony Martial fit, firing, and scoring goals like he did against City. Like he has done pretty much when he's come on this season. He's so important for us. And we'll find out in January what happens, whether or not we're going to sign a new striker. I'd love to see us do it. But if we don't, then we have to be looking internally for where these goals are coming from. And replacing Ronaldo is not about replacing goals, because he hardly scored this season. He scored like 2 goals in the Europa League. But in terms of replacing that presence up front, that number 9 that we can rely on through the middle, it's going to be Anthony Martial that Ten Hag is looking towards. If he's going to be looking younger, he's going to look towards Charlie McNeil. I don't particularly feel that Charlie McNeil is somebody that who will break through this season. I imagine he'll have appearances. I imagine he might be playing, I don't know, in the League Cup against Burnley, for example. You could see him get some minutes. Doesn't strike me as this season is going to be his big breakthrough season in the same way that it was for Alejandro Garnacho. But it's certainly a conversation to be had. And I think a really exciting thing about what we've got coming up in the next week is the youngsters that we will see in action. Now, this little video here might be a drill that you recognise. This is from the first day of training. And you'll notice full well it's the exact same drill that all the senior players were doing in the preseason. And this is a really important point that I want to make here, is that Ten Hag is training this whole squad to play the exact same way. And that's going to start going down through the fabrics of the club. The under-18s, the under-23. He wants everybody to be playing in the exact same way as the first team. The training methods, the passing, the style. And it's going to take a long time for that to really work. But we saw during the preseason tour about how impressive Charlie Savage and Zidane Iqbal were. And I think there's a few youngsters during this preseason. I keep saying preseason. It feels like preseason. Mid-season break that we should be looking at. Now, Alejandro Garnacho has already broken through, and we know how quality is. Look at this. This could absolutely crack me up. A little bit of training. Boom. 1 to 100 there from Alejandro Garnacho. We won't be looking to him as a player that's going to break through, but his continued development this season is going to be just so exciting to watch. It really, really is. Now, for me in particular, Kobbie Mainoo is a player who I will be looking at during this preseason. This mid-season. This mid-season break, I want to see him get some minutes. And he really is a little bit ahead of the age group around him. He's mature. He's very, very good. Physically, he's extremely well developed as well. He's one to watch during this. Now, Isaac Hansen, I don't know whether I would identify him as somebody on the same level as Kobbie Mainoo. I don't think I would, if I'm being completely honest. But he's a very exciting playmaker, and it's somebody who I think you should keep an eye on there. And Ten Hag will be looking towards these youngsters now and hoping that they can take this as an opportunity, just like it was in the preseason when we didn't have a full squad out there. And it was, at that point, it was, who was it? It was Charlie Savage and Zidane Iqbal there who took advantage of that opportunity and really showed that they have some real quality. Ten Hag will be looking at these players, whether it's Hansen, whether it's Kobbie Mainoo, and saying, you know what? Let's see what you can do. And on top of that, on top of the conversations around youngsters, there are some senior players who really have to prove themselves, who really have to use this as an opportunity. Because Van der Beek, mate, I mean, what, he started 4 games in a row in the build-up to the World Cup? He's a shadow of himself. He really, I wouldn't say he's lost, but in my opinion, I think Van der Beek is closer to leaving Manchester United than he is for starting regularly for Manchester United. Now, I think he's closer towards that exit door after those poor performances. Wan-Bissaka is somebody who I've never really felt was going to suit Ten Hag's style of play, and he hasn't played at all. But we need right-back options, and that's where I think there'll be an interesting conversation to be had after this little mid-season break, because Brandon Williams is there. I mean, technically, he could come in as an alternative at right-back to Diogo Dalot. Let's see whether or not he gets some game time. Now, Marc Jurado is a youngster. I think he was brought into the club at the same time. Was he from Madrid at the same time as Alejandro was brought in from Atletico Madrid? Might be wrong there. I think it was the same season that they were brought in. He can play left back, can play right back. Maybe you're going to see an opportunity for him to play at full back. But I just think it's an opportunity, right? It's a time for the players to work closer with certain players, younger players for sure, to work closer with Ten Hag than they'll ever get. When you're playing a game every 3 days, it's going to be focused on the first team. As soon as we come back, the intensity is going to go straight back up there. These players have got to show it on this mid-season tour that they deserve to be the next youngster that the conversation is about. After Alejandro Garnacho's breakthrough this season, and Ten Hag is a manager who you know full well, his whole career has been about youngsters and bringing them through and turning them into top-class stars. It's the Ajax model. And he is very much trying to instill that at Manchester United. As I said, that's why for me, it's quite important to be seeing our youngsters doing the same sorts of drills as the first team. Making sure that, And and doing that sort of thing is going to allow these youngsters to really break through into the first team a lot easier. The transition will be better because they're used to playing that style of football. So I'm going to be covering, as always, I'm going to cover the Cadiz game. I'm going to try and cover the Real Betis game. I don't think I'm going to a wedding that night, so I might not have a match reaction after that one until the next morning. But you can let me know what you're excited about during this mid-season break. I personally am excited about seeing Anthony Martial. I want to see what he can do. I'm excited to see some of the other youngsters. I'm excited to see Garnacho. I'm excited to see Mainu. I'm excited to see Hansen. You can let me know what you think in the comments below about what your expectations are for this week. But United are back in action, and I'm excited to see it. I really, really, really am looking forward to the second half of the season. I'll tell you, I really am.